Hey folks, how's it going? This is Iron Seagull here, back with another review of The Sims Sparked, a new reality TV show which a bunch of simmers are competing on for $100,000 through a series of different challenges. Sorry this review is a day late. I was pretty preoccupied over the weekend and yesterday getting all my nifty knitting stuff videos up as well as streaming it. But then later on in the evening, I finally got to sit down and watch this episode, and I can definitely say it was worth the wait for me because I like this episode a lot more than the first one. And by the way, if this is your first time watching my Spark reviews, we are going to be going into full spoilers and everything. So if you do care about spoilers and you are interested in this series, just go watch the episode first and then come back. It is on BuzzFeed Multiplayer's channel now. But yeah, I like this a lot more than episode 1. I think it had a little bit of everything. I don't really have as many problems with it as I did with episode 1, and on top of that, it had a theme of supernatural, and I definitely love the supernatural side of The Sims, so I'm really glad to see that get some recognition because I feel like it is hated on quite a bit. The first challenge ended up revolving around parenthood. Each team had to create a sim in 3 stages of growing up: toddler, child, and teenager. They also had to build a room for each of those 3 life stages. All the teams came up with some pretty interesting ideas. Team Gnome understandably were feeling super confident as they smashed the last episode, winning both challenges. This time, they went with the story taking place in Northeast England, and took inspiration from Plumbella and her family's life, which was pretty touching. Out of the builds Simprove made for her team, my favorite was the mine, where their Sim John was allowed into with his dad once he aged up into a child. And I also do like how they did put in some photos of Plumbella with her dad as well, to bring more of a human element to it. Next, we had Team Llama. A major problem I had with episode 1 was the drama between Dr. Gluon and ex-Mira Mira, feeling pretty exaggerated. There still was a bit of conflict between the two here, but I think it felt more authentic and not so forced for extra views. They told the story of a girl named Amethyst who ran away from her orphanage and stumbles upon a potion shop owned by her spellcaster grandfather. She became a spellcaster herself, using her powers to help all the unfortunate children, and got back at her orphanage bully by killing her. Wasn't really shown how, but she was shown to basically be in a coffin. That was actually kind of clever, using the coffin from vampires. And I love how Mira designed the sim, Amethyst. I think her style really stands out. Simlessly did a great job with the builds, especially the magic tower. She is one of my favorite builders in this community, so it's nice to see that she got to show off more of her talent, since they did not get eliminated last episode. Lastly, we had Team Cowplant showing their story about Mac, a sim who gets into makeup and use fashion as a way to figure out who they are. They're not masculine nor feminine, just Mac. He ends up being a prodigy and is already enrolled in university as a teenager, discovering himself even more. It was a very realistic story with a standout character. I liked it. When it came to judging how well each team did, Rayvon added a twist. It's not just first place that matters for the next challenge, but also second and third. Team Cowplant broke their second place streak and managed to come out on top, which was pretty cool. And as Steffo Sims amusingly said, it's not Team Gnome sending everyone else home, they can go home. Sadly, Team Llama is once again put at the bottom for not having enough depth for their story. For the Elimination challenge, each team had to pick 3 packs to serve as ingredients for their next story, but the story needed to have a supernatural theme. Each team got the chance to pick each of their packs according to their placement in the Parenthood challenge. This ended up putting Team Llama at a disadvantage, especially since Team Gnome beat them to picking Dine Out. I gotta say, I was flabbergasted that nobody chose Realm of Magic as it would have made perfect sense for this challenge. It was definitely on the board, so it's not like it wasn't completed in development yet or anything like that. If I were competing in this show, I know I would beeline for that pack given the choice. But just like with the Elimination Challenge last episode, a twist was introduced halfway through. All the teams needed to insert their main character from the Parenthood Challenge in a meaningful way into their new stories. Funny enough, that happened to give Team Cowplant an unintentional advantage because their previous character is in university, and Discover University was the last pack that they picked for this challenge. I also have a note for Team Gnome because Sim-proved sound effects that she did in the voiceover booth were pretty funny. And she made that alarm noise her sub-alert while I was watching her stream today. Pretty awesome. It was nice seeing Dr. Gluon being more open to Mira's ideas, as they were both getting stressed out over constantly being at the bottom, and he realized they needed to change things up a lot, even though Mira's story idea wasn't really quite the thing he would do himself. But boy, did that pay off! They told the tale of Nancy, a celebrity obsessed with her looks, which got to her even more as she aged. She heard old wives' tales about their previous character, Amethyst, living in the jungle of Selva Dorada, who now has the power to restore youth. Nancy meets her, and Amethyst turns her into a vampire, which restores her beauty and walks on a more blood-stained red carpet, so to speak. The judges were really impressed, and honestly, so was I. It was really risque, but it was a really, really cool story that was told well. I think this actually might even be my favorite story told on Spark in its entirety so far. Team Cowplant told the story of mermaids who went to Foxbury University, kidnapping frat boys at parties and taking them to that shipwreck in Sulani. I was confused about whether the ending was supposed to be telling us more than what was visually shown, and their character Mac from the previous challenge was barely involved at all. The story idea is cool, but it didn't seem to do much, and Seasons was not that important, other than as a punchline from one of the mermaids, and just generally making their shots look cooler, especially towards the end. Team Gnome went with a very funny story involving the Spark judges, as well as their Parenthood character John getting kidnapped by aliens and being forced to work at a restaurant. John happens to be immune to the aliens' mind control and helps the judges escape thanks to being able to go into small spaces from his experience down in the mines. The only problem I had with their presentation was one of the things that SimGuru Ninja brought up, that Strangerville was barely used. I think the mother should have been an obstacle in the escape sequence. Team Llama ended up winning this challenge, and I fully agree, they deserved it 100%. I felt happy for Mira especially, since she was so stressed last episode and this one, and her efforts finally paid off. Team Cowplant ended up going back to second place, putting Team Gnome last. Overall, I enjoyed this episode a lot. I wouldn't be surprised that even though we're just halfway through the season, episode 2 could remain my favorite. It made me laugh out loud, it had emotion, the stories were really cool, and the theme happened to be one that I really like. It had the underdog team make a comeback. I'm kind of a sucker for underdog stories sometimes, while the strongest team not only lost their winning streak, but the entire competition. As interesting as it was to see that contrast between the winning and losing teams, once again I disagree with the elimination. I was really shocked to see Team Gnome go home this soon, after doing so well in the previous challenges. Steph's joke about how Team Gnome is no longer sending everyone else home but can go home suddenly felt very real. I don't think Team Gnome's lacking usage of Strangerville should have been enough to eliminate them entirely. The story seems to matter more than anything else in this competition, and I felt Team Cowplant's story didn't have enough to it. Then on top of that, they did also have the problem of not using one of their packs well enough with Seasons. Something I'm confused about too is, I'm not sure why they suddenly decide to subtitle some of what Plumbella said in this episode. I don't know. Just no matter what accent you have, maybe it can be sometimes hard to understand if they're talking really fast or extremely, like, emotional, but I felt Jesse was easy to understand the whole time without need of subtitles. It kind of feels like the 2 episodes so far had 2 completely different people editing each one. Talking about the rest of the season, the next episode will pit each player type against the other in their category. Stylist versus stylist, builder versus builder, and storyteller versus storyteller. I'm liking the sound of it, and it brings another twist to the formula. But here's the thing, there's 2 episodes left, and 2 teams, assuming that one of the 2 does get eliminated, so how will episode 4 work? I feel the most obvious theory is that the members of the winning team of this next episode will suddenly have to compete against each other in the 4th, with that winner taking home the 100K. Or maybe they could pull that twist I've seen other reality TV shows do, where they bring back one or more of the contestants who were eliminated, giving them a second chance to win. So that way you could also have more faces in the finale too, and not just have the team competing against themselves. When it comes to whichever of the 2 teams wins the next episode, I think it's interesting either way. You have the underdog Team Llama facing off against the tired of second place Team Cowplant. I feel satisfied with either winner, so I'm not sure who I want to root for. But that's basically it for my review of episode 2 of Sparked, which is titled Pro Sims Players Build Supernatural Stories for 100K. So feel free to let me know what you think in the comment section below, and any theories as to how the rest of the season's gonna go, who's gonna win, who's gonna lose, and so on and so forth. And be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with my latest content from The Sims, Paralive, Sonic the Hedgehog, and more. So I will talk to you all later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching!